And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang is across the glass.
John, yesterday there was a candidate forum held by the California Chamber of Commerce for everyone running for governor. And this was the first forum that there were Democrats and Republicans on stage. And Riverside Sheriff Chad Bianco explained why half the people on the stage you can't trust to fix your problems.
All of the issues that we have had have been the same issues that we've been talking about for 20, 30 years. And quite frankly, the people on this stage could have either fixed them or responsible for putting us in this position in the first place.
Well, you collected another one.
Okay, now I have a fun game for you.
What?
Okay. Antonio Villaraigosa or Steve Hilton with a cold. Here's the first clip.
The fact of the matter is, we need a course correction in this state.
Okay, that's Antonio at his best.
It is such a struggle in California. Everything is such a struggle.
And that's Steve Hilton impersonating Antonio Villaraigosa?
Steve Hilton's been doing so much campaigning, he lost his voice.
Well, he needs to go to Hawaii for a few days. Have a few Mai Tais.
It is such a struggle in California. Everything is such a struggle.
Steve Hilton at his worst sounds like Antonio Villaraigosa at his best.
The fact of the matter is, we need a course correction in this state.
I'll tell you, if that's what that debate stage sounded like, maybe Harvey Fierstein will be our next governor. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And the first story is an update on a story we brought you yesterday.
We told you about the naked man in Valley Village.
That a man without clothes, a.k.a. a naked man.
Thanks for the clarification there. Well, we know that he prowled around one apartment. Turns out he prowled around a few different houses because all the neighbors checked their security tape, and the naked man was running around the whole neighborhood in the double V's.
Okay. Is he on meth or is he just an exhibitionist?
It can be both. He was wearing the poncho on the top half, nothing on the bottom half. He was Donald Ducking it.
Business on top, party in the bag.
For the update on Naked Man in Valley Village, here is KTLA.
Terrifying moments for a Valley Village woman when she woke up in the middle of the night to find a naked man in her living room. That woman ran outside, immediately called 911.
She says the man appeared to be on drugs and got...
You don't say.
There you go. It's the meth.
She says the man appeared to be on drugs and got in...
How has this grand experiment the last 11 years been where we have pretty much legalized meth?
We've turned into Amsterdam.
Are we? Well, no, they don't allow that in Amsterdam. They allow weed and they allowed space cakes, but I don't think you can meth it up.
The one time I went to Amsterdam on vacation, my friends and I got chased back to our hotel by a guy high on drugs with a potted plant on his head.
I'm checking right now. Can you do meth in Amsterdam? No, hard drugs remain legal in the Netherlands. However, punishment is significantly lower than it is in other countries.
Yeah, well, they were doing it. I'm here to tell you that.
All right. I guess no Amsterdam for me.
She says the man appeared to be on drugs and got into her home through an unlocked door. Mary Beth McDade.
Okay, well, that's your first problem.
Yeah, lock your doors, people, especially if you live in any area that's North Hollywood but called something else.
This isn't Mayberry. This isn't the Valley in the 1950s. Lock your doors, kids.
No, this is a zombie apocalypse movie.
Mary Beth McDade joins us live in Valley Village, where an entire neighborhood is on edge tonight. MB.
Yes, Mike and Sharon, they sure are. And, you know, as news of this disturbing incident spread throughout the neighborhood, one woman decided to go home and check her security cameras. And that's when she realized that that man had also paid her home a visit. He can be seen on camera touching himself inappropriately on her porch and peering into her window.
Whoa!
We got a rowdy Roddy peeper here.
You think he's doing that in honor of the Paul Rubens documentary?
A security camera captures a man nude from the waist down, touching himself in a sexual manner on.
I don't like these terms. These terms, even though they're trying to not be graphic, they're still sounding fairly graphic. I need my lady from Studio City.
Doing the most with his hands.
That's the way to describe it.
It's not far away in Studio City.
What is it about this part of the valley?
I don't know. Well, during the summer, it can be hot.
On the front porch of Patty Rob's Valley Village home.
I checked my surveillance cameras, and I couldn't believe what I saw.
We had spoken with Patty.
Wait, okay. Remember, she was the one we talked about yesterday. She was the one who was the neighbor that's I can't believe this is going on. She's the one that checked her ring and said, oh, he came to my house too.
And then called the news.
Well, she wanted another 15 minutes.
She got it.
Now, do you think she's going to post this interview on Nextdoor?
100%.
I'm famous.
We had spoken with Patty on the KHLA morning show about the same man entering her neighbor's home and touching himself inappropriately there. Afterwards, she went home and checked her security camera and was rattled by what she discovered.
He was on the front porch. I still haven't touched anything out there because I'm still kind of freaked out.
Yeah, you're going to have to invest in a lot of Simple Green.
About him being on my front porch.
The unidentified man was on Patty's porch around 1:20 Thursday morning. And then her neighbor Amy woke up to him inside her home around 2 a.m.
So this guy's just wandering around the neighborhood, methed up, no pants, doing what again?
Doing the most with his hands.
All over the place.
Including on that woman's porch.
It was pretty terrifying. That's for a woman, it's like the most, I think it's our most primal fear, right? A sexual assault.
Amy, who didn't want to show her face, says she was sleeping on her couch in the living room when she spotted the naked stranger and started screaming.
If that is your number one fear, and that's a completely legitimate fear, why aren't you locking those doors?
I hope she learns that lesson.
All of a sudden I looked up and there was a man in my dining room, probably about 10 feet away from me, undressed from the waist down, masturbating.
Oh, I don't like that term.
Yeah, me either.
Let's do this again.
From the waist down.
Doing the most with his hands.
And staring at me.
There we go. Much cleaner. Family friendly, you'd say.
Yeah, I don't know if you really cleaned it up much.
She tells us she grabbed her sleeping dog and ran outside to call 911.
Wait, the dog didn't get alerted to the creepo wandering around the house?
Maybe the dog was watching.
LAPD officers quickly responded and detained the man, who was then taken in for a mental health evaluation.
You think?
I don't know if it's a mental health thing if he's methed out doing that all over the neighborhood.
What kind of test do you have to give him to figure out he's got a screw loose? Hey, sir, who we just picked up naked in Valley Village doing inappropriate things on a woman's porch while she was sleeping on the couch. Let's see. How should we phrase this? Do you ever plan on doing anything to impressing Jodie Foster?
For a mental health evaluation.
He was high on methamphetamines. The cops.
How do we know that?
I guess I'm just clairvoyant.
We went from, if you're caught with meth, you go to prison for many years, to allowing this on a daily basis. And while fentanyl gets all the headlines, the fentanyl people just fold over an OD, and then their friends get pissed off if you try to revive them because it's killing their high. It's the methies that do all the crazy stuff.
He was high on.
And you have people like Karen Bass who defend the meth heads, saying, well, if you were out with the elements in the middle of the night, you'd do meth too.
I love how she acts like they were perfectly normal people and they started living on the streets and the meth was what helped them cope. It wasn't the opposite, which is what we all know to be true. They started taking the meth. No one wanted anything to do with them, and then they ended up on the streets because that's where the meth is.
He was high on methamphetamines. The cops said that can cause like an increased sexual arousal, like a hyperarousal state. He did look.
I don't know if this is information we should be educating the public with.
Yeah, X-nay on the
arousal A.
Yeah.
He did look high.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Prior to police arriving, Amy says he moved a lot of her stuff around her home.
When I came in the house after the cops left, he'd taken a picture of me off the refrigerator, and I found it in the bedroom with a pair of my underwear that had been pulled out of the laundry.
Oh, no.
That escalated quickly.
She has to move. There is no way you feel safe again in that home.
I don't even know if I'd live in the same city.
She's going to have to burn everything she owns.
Well, Amy says that he got into her home through an unlocked back door. You better believe a lot of people in this neighborhood are making sure that their doors and windows are locked tonight. For now, reporting live here in Valley Village, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
There you go. The latest update on the Valley Village naked man.
That a man without clothes, a.k.a. a naked man.
And Randy, now it's time to reopen the California crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this next edition takes us to Northern California.
San Mateo County, the latest place to be the victims of copper wire theft, just as Rob Bonta held a roundtable discussion saying he's going to start cracking down on it.
Oh, well, we can all sleep better now.
For more, here is Cron 4.
Clifford is live for us in San Mateo County with the latest details. Charles.
Well, good afternoon. You know, hardly a day passes when we don't hear a story about copper wire being stolen from somewhere. Certainly, I've done many stories over the year about copper wire being taken from public transit, light posts on city streets, from football fields and schools and churches. And a few weeks ago, we had problems in Oakland and the East Bay at the DMV, and in the South Bay at VTA. They had copper wire stolen.
The trains don't run because copper wire got stolen. The Oakland DMV got flooded and is still unusable thanks to copper wire being stolen. And here in Los Angeles County, we have an LA City councilman, Hugo Soto Martinez, that doesn't understand why it should be a crime.
You know, let's criminalize catalytic converters. Let's criminalize copper.
Well, if he wants to know why it should be a crime, you try getting your real ID without the DMV having any power.
Today, Attorney General Rob Bonta held a roundtable discussion with leaders in Southern California to discuss the problem and try to come up with some solutions.
Problem has existed for some number of years, but is growing, is worsening every year.
Especially since you took over.
Yeah, gee, I love the fact that he's trying to reinvent the wheel here. You know how you deal with this? When you catch these idiots doing it, you put them in jail.
And this is a two-part story because it's the meth heads who are ripping off the copper wire, but this isn't something you can go sell on the Mission in San Francisco or MacArthur Park or ship off to Vietnam. These are very heavy pieces of infrastructure. You have to take them to a smelter or a recycler. And what do you know? Rob Bonta happens to be in bed with the most crooked recyclers in the state of California, the Dong family.
In theory, this should be an easy problem to solve because you can just lean on people who need a business license to be operational. That's what they did during COVID when they wanted to enforce their mask mandates. They went to the grocery stores, they went to the hardware stores, they went to the restaurants, and they said, if you don't enforce the mask mandates, we're going to pull your licenses. And they made them the enforcers. Well, if you want to solve this problem overnight, you just tell all of these recycling centers that you're going to pull their licenses if they get caught doing this once.
You don't do that, though, if the recycling centers are funding your political campaign.
That's right.
Problem has existed for some number of years, but is growing, is worsening every year.
On Thursday, California Attorney General Rob Bonta attended a roundtable discussion in Southern California to discuss copper wire theft. He said the problem has resulted in millions of dollars of damage statewide.
The people who foot the bill are you and me and us, taxpayers, the public, law-abiding Californians who...
He sure loves to list things that mean nothing.
Well, he's the king of cliches, so saying a lot of things that mean nothing, that's on brand.
every type of leadership is about meeting the moment and rising to the occasion. And this is what's required. And so we're stepping up and getting it done. The people who foot the bill are you and me and us, taxpayers, the public, law-abiding Californians who had no role in the destruction, and that cannot continue.
Copper wire theft is not a new problem, but in recent months there have been several high-profile examples here in the Bay Area. In March, thieves in the South Bay stole enough wire from the VTA light rail system to disrupt train service for days.
It was the funniest thing because the VTA was shut down for weeks because of the strike. And as soon as they settled the strike and VTA was supposed to resume service, they realized, oh, the trains don't work because while the VTA was shut down with the strike, someone stole all the copper wire.
And they want you to get rid of your car so you can rely on those trains.
Then in April, thieves targeted the 85th Avenue DMV office in Oakland, forcing the building to close for months.
It got flooded. They ripped out the copper wire connected to the air conditioning, and it leaked, and there you go, no more DMV.
Can you imagine what all those DMV employees with the 4-foot nails, what look they had on their face when they saw that?
Thieves have also caused problems for Bay Area schools and churches.
Oh, yeah. Let's not forget the high school in Vallejo that was closed for over a week because they stole all the copper wire.
Not a lot of learning going on there.
There is currently a bill, AB 476, making its way through the state legislature that, if passed, would put new requirements on recyclers and junk dealers who buy or sell copper. It would also increase.
We can't already, with existing law, go after these people?
Not with people like Hugo Soto Martinez in office.
Well, and look at the two things that Hugo loved to highlight in that clip that we love to play.
You know, let's criminalize catalytic converters. Let's criminalize copper.
Allegedly, the state of California cracked down on catalytic converter theft last year when they passed a bill. Turns out what that bill did is that if you got caught with more than 8 catalytic converters, they could ask you where they came from. Less than 8, no questions asked.
Which means the state did nothing.
It would also increase penalties for stealing the metal. The bill recently passed the Assembly with broad support and is currently being reviewed by the Senate. No word yet if Governor Newsom supports the plan. On Thursday, Bonta said that his office wants scrap and junk dealers to know that they will be held responsible if they make the problem worse.
Unless they've donated to his campaign.
Well, what you do is you say, we'll hold you responsible, but accountability means nothing. So you check a box and said, hey, we held them accountable. But if they continue to make money by accepting this copper wire and paying off the thieves, then what good did you do?
There you go. Copper wire theft remains a massive problem throughout the entire state of California.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we've hit the halfway point of today's show, if you want to keep listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Search for us on the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe, download all the episodes, get the KABC app, get the KSFO app. Best way to get all the podcasts and listen live to the HD live stream. You can listen to that stream whether you are fully clothed or if you're not.
That a man without clothes, a.k.a. a naked man.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
I am?
I thought you told me to throw it to you.
I did not.
Oh.
I told you what was going on the TV.
No, during the break, I thought you told me to throw it to you.
You know what? You're right. You're totally right. You did, and then I forgot that I asked you to do that because that was 5 whole minutes ago. I apologize.
I'm usually the one that forgets. You tell me something, and 20 minutes later, you say, I told you to throw it to me. I said, no, you didn't. You said, yes, I did.
No, you're totally right. I got distracted because someone got run over by an ice van. Okay. So, yes, I do have an email here. Jim from Laverne writes in and says, hey, when you mentioned that copper wire story from the school in Vallejo, I was hoping to hear my favorite drop of the year. And you know what? You're totally right. It didn't come to mind, but here it is.
Somebody robbed our school.
It's been a really good year for drops, and we're only halfway through.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing because it's they usually are produced after something horrific happens.
Yeah, the more insane a year is, the more drops we're going to have, which is bad for society, but good for us.
That's true. Speaking of which, it's time to reopen the California crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition takes us to the coffee shop.
In Pasadena, someone broke into a drive-through coffee shop not to take coffee, but to take the cash register.
Sounds like they're over-caffeinated.
For more, here's ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Witness News. New at 11, a masked thief strikes a Pasadena coffee shop, smashing through a window and walking away with the store's cash register. It's the third time they've been robbed since opening 6 years ago.
Every 2 years.
It's like a flood.
And we're not talking about a bad part of town. We're talking about Pasadena.
No, that's one of the most expensive parts of L.A. County.
Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell live with more from the frustrated shop's owner. Amy.
Mark, we're talking about a criminal targeting a small business in a community struggling to recover from the death and destruction caused by the Eaton fire. And the owner tells me it happened early this morning, but he says he has no plans to close his doors.
Ouch.
Now we're the little old ladies from Pasadena supposed to get their Java fix.
That's pretty damn violent for a coffee shop.
No kidding.
Security cameras capturing a fast-moving burglar during an early morning break-in. He shatters the front window and climbs through, walks behind the counter of the coffee shop, and grabs the cash register. An alarm going off seconds later as he escapes.
This is the third time that it's happened, so, I kind of knew what was happening.
Again.
It's too bad Juan Valdez wasn't outside on his donkey.
The owner of Highlight Coffee rushing to his business after being awakened by the alarm company.
He broke the window, knew exactly where to go. Luckily, because of the last two robberies, we kind of prepared a little bit, and he didn't get away with too much. But, he was in and out.
Kim immediately called in someone to repair the window, cleaned up the mess, and opened for business.
I'm going to guess he did not file a claim with the insurance company.
Probably not.
Highlight Coffee was hit with a similar burglary 2 years ago, and another one just months after the shop opened in 2019. No arrest.
Boy, welcome to the neighborhood.
With patrons inside, they did that?
No arrests have been made.
I think he's the same guy. He kind of walks the same. He throws the same. He has the same exact strategy.
Kim says his business is one of several along Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena that have been burglarized. Many of Highlight Coffee's regular customers lost their homes in the Eaton fire, but they have been supportive.
I live here. Our home is in Altadena, where we started remediation today. Luckily, it's still standing.
Though the burglary is upsetting and costly, Kim says he won't waste his energy focusing on the crime.
Maybe focus a little on it?
Okay, if that thief is willing to hit that coffee shop when patrons are there, let's just say that Katie Porter is there stumping for votes, and all of this happens. Do you think she'd dump a boiling hot pot of U-Ban on the guy's head like she did with her husband with the potatoes?
I sure hope she would.
Like, please!
Being here and giving people hope and giving people a place to kind of almost forget and remind them of before the fire is hugely important to me.
Now they're just reminded of, oh, yeah, even though it's Pasadena, it's still L.A. County.
Oh, yeah, that's the place with the broken window.
And the owner has filed a police report hoping this criminal will be captured. Reporting live, Amy Powell, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
There you go. The coffee shop in Pasadena hit 3 times in the last 6 years.
We'll give you an update on this 2 years from now. And right now, it's time to reopen the California crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, this one involves a machete.
Don't they all? Someone got macheted for no reason, and apparently the guy who macheted the man had crazy eyes.
You don't say.
For more, here's KTLA.
A random and very violent attack leaves one man dead, another injured and unable to work. The victim who survived is now starting his recovery and speaking out for the first time. Police say a man used a machete to attack both of those victims over the weekend.
Is this just a term that we love to use, or is that describing any sword?
Well, usually when we talk about crimes where a machete was used, it's on the MTA.
That is true.
You may want to consider not using the metro.
I was at the Chatsworth station.
Yep.
KTLA's Rick Chambers spoke with the surviving victim. He's live at LAPD headquarters downtown. It's a story you'll see only on 5. Rick.
Yeah, Micah, Kyle Levitt, this is the first interview he's done since being released from the hospital yesterday. Now, some of the photos we're going to show you are disturbing, and that's because Kyle's banged up. And he's also well aware that the outcome could have been much different.
Banged up? He got attacked with a machete. He's not a piece of chicken at Benihana's.
It was just a set of circumstances in which I was the lucky one.
Kyle Levitt.
On what planet are you lucky, pal?
Well, the guy next to him got killed.
Oh.
Kyle Levitt is one of 2 men attacked with a machete this past weekend right here in downtown L.A., allegedly by this guy. Kyle says he was walking home about midnight on Saturday from his restaurant job and was using his key at the front door of his apartment building.
By the time I looked up and saw the reflection in the door, I'd noticed a man running up behind me.
He says that he heard footsteps and then felt what he thought were punches, but the blade had left these cuts in his scalp that had to be stapled together.
Oh, my goodness.
He got stabbed in the head with a machete?
You know, as much as you have politicians talking about, we want to revitalize our downtowns and we want more people to come to our downtowns and we want more people to move downtown, this is why a lot of people don't want to be downtown.
Well, Randy, you know what would have fixed this problem?
What's that?
Gun control.
And that's when Kyle says he turned toward his attacker.
I'd put my arms up to say, stop, and then that's when he had hit me again.
That blow hit his right wrist and nearly severed the hand.
My tendons were cut completely, down to the bone. My artery was cut.
And Kyle says that's when he fell to the ground.
And remember, this is completely unprovoked. He did nothing.
No, this guy has to be on meth, too.
We have crazy man with machete just running around chopping people up in downtown L.A. And where are our elected officials? Out to lunch.
Oh, they'll tell you that crime is actually going down. And if you don't believe that, you believe in propaganda.
And he was over me at this point, and then that is the first time that I'd seen that he'd had the knife in his hand.
Kyle says that the alleged attacker never spoke to him, but had what Kyle describes as crazy eyes.
Crazy eyes, different from realtor eyes.
And Kyle anticipated another swing of that machete.
For whatever reason, he had sort of stopped in that moment and registered that for whatever reason it was over, and he ran away.
Kyle claims that he...
Meth wore off?
I wonder where the safety ambassadors were. That right there is a job for a social worker.
Kyle claims that...
Is this the kind of person that's having a mental health crisis that we need a non-emergency responder to?
Yes, we need an unarmed social worker, former convict, who's there to teach this person how to do yoga.
Kyle claims that he banged on the building door, and that's when someone in the lobby came to his aid. Unbeknownst to Kyle, though, just minutes before and less than a mile away, another man was cut in front of this bank building. Both of those victims were rushed here to nearby California hospital. The other victim sadly died. Kyle needed 2 surgeries to save that hand. Thankfully, police arrested this man shortly after Kyle was assaulted, and they say found the murder weapon as well.
Didn't ditch the machete.
What do you think the odds are this guy actually does any real time?
For murder?
They're going to say that he's not mentally competent to stand trial.
Well, this is something that's going on right now. This all goes back to a law that was passed during the Jerry Brown days, the Mental Health Diversion Act. You can claim that you committed a crime because of your mental illness, and any mental illness will do. This is true. You can claim you were driven to commit a crime because of your ADHD, and you can get diversion instead of prison time.
This is where the state has totally failed these people. This guy should never have been allowed to be out on the streets. He should have been in jail. If you're on meth and you have a machete that you're causing problems with, you're a criminal. And I don't want to hear this, oh, you need help. Oh, you need rehab. Oh, you need counseling. Oh, you need this. No, you need to be locked in a cage and never allowed to come out.
Now, Kyle is being told by his doctors that he's not going to be able to work for a few months. That, of course, means no money coming in. A GoFundMe has been set up for him. If you can help, go to our website at ktla.com. We'll have a link there for you.
Well, just do what everyone else does. You're the victim of a horrific crime in downtown Los Angeles. L.A. did not keep you safe. Sue the city. You'll get millions.
But I don't think those people get any money. I think you get millions if you slip and fall. But if you're just attacked by a crackhead with a machete, I think you're on your own.
Can we end all of these crime blotter stories with something somewhat positive?
Sure.
We got one more round, everyone.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
Johnny, sometimes you need to fight back. And that's what a West Covina woman did when she saw catalytic converter thieves and she went at them with a baseball bat.
Louisville Slugger, here we go.
Here is K-Cal. Whoa.
She was ready for action.
They are fed up and fighting back. This woman caught on camera chasing away a catalytic converter thief in her West Covina neighborhood.
KCAL News reporter Nicole Comstock is live in West Covina, where she talked to some residents who say they are angry. Nicole.
Well, a lot of people here in Southern California are just sick and tired of criminals. So they're actually commending this woman online for giving these guys some instant payback. Of course, others realize that some people have been hurt and even killed, going after criminals for the same thing.
Yeah, as much as I love the intention of this, we have seen people try to intervene with catalytic converter thieves and get murdered over it.
I hope she took some extra shots just for good measure, too.
Caught on camera using a metal bat to beat the side of a car. This woman's friends tell us she was going after a thief.
That's got to be some good stress relief. Smashing it up like you're the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah, that beats one of those stress pillows.
Who just stole her catalytic converter. They say you can see it in his hand, along with the saw used to cut it off as he hopped in a getaway car.
But unless he had 7 more of them in his hand, the state of California doesn't want to do anything.
No, and this is why vigilantism is increasing, because it's the only way for you to solve your problem. Now, it's inherently risky because these people are emboldened and they're violent and they're criminals. But if the state wants to force people into vigilantism, I don't know how you could do it any more than by doing what they're doing.
They get what they deserve. You know, it's going to come back to them at one point.
It happened at about 1:30 Friday morning in this West Covina neighborhood near Amar and Azusa.
Like, it's upsetting. I get that. I mean, those parts aren't cheap. You know, they're expensive.
You can hear the saw slicing through the valuable metal under the car in this security video.
Yeah, they're using the power saw, which wakes up the whole neighborhood, which means everyone knows what they're doing and they're not afraid of getting caught.
Here is the risk, though. If you're the one with the baseball bat trying to protect your property, if one of them ends up getting hurt or seriously hurt or dies as a result of one of those blows, the entire media is going to turn on you. Not us, but the mainstream media will turn on you. Because what will happen is the pictures of the catalytic converter thief will be, that the news will use, will be the thief in the cap and gown, graduating from high school. We'd hear about what a pillar of the community they were, how they had some troubled times, but they were getting their life back on track, and you are the evil person that took that away.
Well, I heard the grinding like a saw.
This woman didn't want her face on camera because she came outside to see what was happening, right as this woman was wailing on the car.
I understood.
I love it.
It's like that Chris Rock bit.
Yep.
I ain't saying she should have killed her, but I understand.
I understood.
Little street justice.
I'm going to save that. I'm going to have no idea what this was 6 months from now, but I want it.
I understood.
Well, the neighborhood women were on board. We have one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show. ABC News legal analyst Royal Oakes will be here. He's going to weigh in on federal judges blocking Donald Trump from deporting the family of that suspected terrorist attack in Colorado. What's going on there? And Jim Lacey of California Political Review stops by and gives us his take on Trump v. Elon. We have one more hour to go before the weekend begins. Don't you go anywhere. This is the John Phillips Show.